Hello. Welcome to my Zoom link.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Nice.
I'm gonna fiddle around with this. Can you help me actually, Chu, if you have a minute? I'm gonna just try to, I wanna present, but I think if I present, then I won't be able to see my slide notes. So let me just try real quick. If I share my screen. Hi, Andre.
I am muted, sorry, hi.
Oh, good. I'm just trying to get set up and see if I can share my screen and present. Let's start up here. Where's the presentation mode? I don't know how to get to presentation mode from this menu. There it is. Okay, so you can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all good. Now, the only issue is I don't want it full screen. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so I'm still presenting. Oh, glorious. Okay, this is ideal. That's ideal. Oh, and all you see is obviously the roadmap planning screen, right?
Yes.
Cool. Or sweet.
So Eric had some ideas for notifications. I'm actually gonna write some code for the first time since I started this position, which is nice.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That will be a good way to get into it.
Oh God. Well, we're gonna try to figure out some, just prove some assumptions.
How risky are we feeling the assumptions are right now? Have you had a conversation about it already?
Yeah, on Android, we're a little bit more secure or confident on Android than on iOS.
Right.
Basically, on iOS, it's like it's just the OS controls everything around you, whereas Android is a lot more developer friendly, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in iOS, your app can be suspended, which means that it's running zero code in that particular point of time, or it can be put on the background or killed. It'll run background execution tasks whenever it damn feels like it. And so there's like zero certainty for a developer. Everything has to be idempotent because of that. And yeah.
One huge win, if we followed Yenda's proposal there, one huge win is the F-Droid store or the F-Droid distribution. That would be that's a pretty big pro to consider going that route, I think.
Yeah, I think his idea is sound. So we're going to prove that it works. But part of it would also mean having to move the mail server pool from React Native into Go, which is a thing.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, post V1. Good thing we're here today.
Yeah.
Has anyone on the call ever had an app that was distributed on the F-Droid store? Or store, I don't know what the word is, the F-Droid platform. I just wonder, I mean, it's unlikely to get you any sort of, as the developer or the publisher, I wonder if you get any sort of stats on who's accessed it.
Nope, not me.
Okay. That's all right. Installs are one of our few, solid metrics that I don't love, but it's true.
It means nothing, but yeah.
Means almost nothing, yeah. Just about.
Unless it's 0 installs.
Jesus.
Right. That's a pretty strong signal right there.
Pedro coming in with the knowledge.
Well, that's not going to happen. We already have almost 10,000 installs, and it's possible that 9,000 of them have forgotten about us because they're on Android and they just update passively, but we'll see. We'll see. The biggest step up, I mean, V1, like we're going to ask users to actively delete beta. and install V1. So it is a big step, but Johnny and his marketing cadres are preparing for it.
There's merry men, band of marketing men.
Merry band of marketers.
Merry band.
It's mostly Johnny. That's like, it's Jinho. Jinho is really great, and Robin too, I think. But Johnny's doing a lot of like the traditional marketing efforts alone, I think. So let me pop open the calendar invite and see how many people we're expecting. And I am sitting in a phone booth in the basement of my co-working space, and it is so warm in here. I am about to be sweating, like an inappropriate metaphor. So, yeah, okay, cool. 17 people said they would attend. Give it some time. I'd like at least the core team to be here.
Let me see.
Hey, everyone.
Cool. Hey.
Hello,
Esther.
hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's a big group today.
Yeah, I hope so.
Cool.
I know Eric's aware of the call because I was just on a call with him.
Okay. He's often fashionably late,
That's all right.
so that's allowed.
We still love him anyways.
Exactly. Give it, I don't think it's going to take us the full hour today, so I'll give it a few more minutes.
Yep, that's fair.
I think this should be pretty speedy, actually. How was your Canadian Thanksgiving, Andre?
It was, I had a bit of a food comatose after it. I think I had way too much gravy, but it was so good. The only thing that's really disconcerting is that North America sucks at making stuffing.
What?
It's like damp croutons.
Are you guys good at making stuffing?
Yes, the Portuguese stuffing.
I didn't know that was
I'll show you.
an element of Portuguese.
And obviously my girlfriend is upstairs and she heard my remark and texted me #accurate. Let me see. So this is how we make croutons. Or stuffing, sorry. Not croutons. Ugh. I think Pedro will agree with me. Yeah, it's delicious. It's a meal in itself, basically.
Stuffing is actually my favorite part of Thanksgiving, so I'm on board.
Mm-hmm.
Fully on board.
Bet you've never had it looking like this, though.
No, just damp croutons. Sad damp croutons. Poor
damp croutons.
Underprivileged American upbringing. questionable food upbringing in every way, really.
Hey, Hester being Dutch has I think she's the most privileged of them all. They have a special mayo just for fries.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I feel so lucky. Yeah. Eternal gratitude because of that.
Yeah. #blessed, I think.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
How is it different from regular mayo?
It's very thick.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. It's more, I mean, there's mayo and there's maybe like it's more like the McDonald's fried sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always bought it in like tubes that look like toothpaste tubes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'm not the only one.
I can buy it at the store. Okay, good to know.
Just, yeah, I wouldn't, but you can.
Hope it would take me a while to get through. Okay, so we're about 5 minutes past. We've got 13 people on the Zoom right now.
Do you need anyone to take notes, by the way?
Maybe when we get to the interactive portion.
Okay.
I think that and I actually have some spreadsheets open that we're going to work within together. So, but yeah, definitely, please go wild. I think that would be helpful regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's do this thing. Welcome to the October 15th roadmap planning session, everyone. Please allow this beautiful, inspirational, and heavily metaphorical image of an open road to soak in, because we're here today to talk about the roadmap. So, kind of done for now, at least, with harping on about the V1 backlog any longer. I think that the people on this call are pretty well familiar with what we need to do before we can ship V1 and have it out the door. So today we are just creating space to think about what's next. And as I mentioned in my email, which I hope you opened, you're all SNT holders, and thus you should have a say in the direction of this project. And so the goal for this meeting is for us to get alignment at a high level on what comes next. So I will spend the next few minutes presenting a little bit on the context. But as usual, if you'd like to hop in at any point, please feel free. I just find that with big calls like this, the more structured they are, the better they tend to go. So on that note, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge all the incredible work that you guys have done to bring us from beta to V1 thus far. So like, you've restructured, refactored, resurfaced the entire application, and it's much more pleasant to use. It's much more performant, faster, more private, more feature rich. And I don't even think the majority of the team outside of core is going to know what hit them when they open V1 for the first time. And I know that when our core group of users gets a hold of it, they're going to be very, very, very pleased. So thank you everyone so much for the hard work you've done up until this point all year, and well done. So just a quick overview of the process. The wider community of SNT holders is also going to get a chance to weigh in on this whole process. This will not be the only meeting. Today we're going to focus on sort of big, epic level chunks of work, and we're going to think in terms of specific goals or objectives that we would like to accomplish. So we're going to do that by identifying the objectives that have come up so far, at least in the Discuss post and in conversations with Jared and in Istanbul. We're going to hear input from you guys, the team, live on the call. And then as a group, we are going to try to rank the objectives together synchronously at the end. And once that's done, I will take those prioritized objectives and I will share them out along with the recording of this presentation on Discuss. And we'll then invite sort of a thumbs up, thumbs down style feedback from the other S&T holders out there. And assuming we all achieve agreement on what our priority objectives are, we'll then drill down into each one through dedicated in-depth planning meetings. So that's where we'll be able to get more into the nitty-gritty, specific features and the order in which they should come, and even how specifically we'll implement them. Is that cool? Okay.
Sounds good.
Good. Thank you, guys. Silence is agreement. All right, so I'm also going to time box our imagination today just to force focus a bit. We do have one long-term objective in motion that's going to span, I don't know, Pedro, you can quote this, but maybe 6 to 12 months, and that is the Nimbus integration to status. But for today, I'd like us to look just specifically at the next 3 months after V1 is publicly released. And given our current rate of development and what we've got left, given all the potential unknowns that lie ahead of us, I think that could easily take us into 2020. So given the team that we have, given the amount of stuff that we could do and that we're aware of that we could improve within the application right now, I think we need a cohesive goal to rally around, and this is it. This is simply it. It's going to be, the focus is on building meaningful user traction. Will finally be distributed more widely in the public App Store and Play Store. And so in the traditional world, like the very basic figure we might look at to track user traction would be figures like daily active users and monthly active users. That would help us to begin to gauge how strong our product market fit is. In our case, we're working with a slightly different metric. It's very slippery, and there's some work to be done here to make sure it's actually reliable. Probably will never be perfect, but we're going to use Whisper PRIDs as a proxy, unique Whisper PRIDs. And this is really, again, just to begin to help us understand whether or not our user base is scaling and to help us separate to a meaningful degree from what is the complete vanity metric of app installs. And I also hesitate to call out a specific number as a growth objective for us. I think we can have in mind that a typical really good growth rate for a startup is something like, especially a networking startup like ours, would be something like 5 to 7% weekly. But we don't yet know the upper limits of what our current protocol can support. So instead, I'll just note as a potential benchmark, there are certain subreddits out there that are focused on privacy tooling specifically. And one of those has 55,000 members in it. So that is something we can have in mind as a potential benchmark. But to actually understand like the how and the what of what will drive that growth, we're going to have to rely on softer, more qualitative measures. So collection of qualitative input is something that I consider to be absolutely mandatory as we head into V1. And I personally intend to shoulder a big chunk of this effort, and hopefully with the help of our lovely UX and marketing team, and to a lesser extent, help of development people like Jakob, who's been helping me a lot just getting the user ID or the peer ID metric set up. So on that note, let's bring it back to the people that we want to see in status. I mentioned the privacy tooling Reddit because our initial focus remains on the Ethereum and wider blockchain community, as well as people who generally value privacy and security. So to these people, our principles are a differentiating feature. Status being the most private, secure, and censorship-resistant social networking app is what makes us unique and worthwhile. With payment features and other socioeconomic facilitators built in, I have no doubt that we can blow apps like Signal and Telegram out of the water on all of these points. That said, like when we begin to think about these advanced users, these very privacy-centric people similar to ourselves, it can be tempting to automatically jump to features like, having multiple chat IDs or allowing for custom derivation paths. And on a 6 to 12 month timescale, I do think that enriching the privacy features of status makes a lot of sense. But on a 3-month timescale, it can be humbling to consider that some of the most frequently asked questions that we hear in status today are, is anybody here? And how does this thing work? It's like, is this thing on? Like, who can I connect with? Where do I go? What do I do? People are just questioning like the fundamentals of the application, right? And feeling a little bit confused when they onboard. I also want to share this image. So these are protesters in Hong Kong. And does anybody know like which app they're using in Hong Kong to organize protests? Okay, spoiler alert, I'll tell you. They're using Telegram. So Telegram is, as we know, not the most respected messenger by professional cryptographers. It's not E2E by default, it requires a phone number. There's just myriad problems with it from our point of view, especially for a use case like this one. Overall, it's not even as secure as Signal, and these people know that Signal is available to them, but they're using Telegram. And why are they using Telegram? It's because of its usability. So the main reason that protesters in Hong Kong opt for Telegram over a more secure messaging application like Signal is because of its group chat feature. They want to easily manage large public groups up to thousands of members, and they want to find their friends and family easily on the application. So these people who are protesting in a hostile environment for their basic rights are compromising on privacy and security in the name of usability. So with that in mind, I'm ready to talk about our team's objectives. So what I'm going to do is, any feedback on that, I'll just pause briefly. Context, setup for where we're at and where we're going. Does anybody have any thoughts at this point?
Yeah, that slide where people were asking if anyone was here, ouch.
Yeah. We do have some easy fixes in mind for this that I think we could implement even before V1 goes live. So luckily, like, there are some shortcuts to make this better, but yeah, agreed. There is definitely this feeling that it's a bit of a ghost town sometimes. Sorry, Hester, go ahead.
No, just saying, I think this is a great start. Yeah, especially the flagging on why people might, what do you call it? Like leave out Signal or more private opportunities to get group chat or group chat-like features in return.
Cool. Okay, so on that note, I've got 2 exercises for us. Let me share my spreadsheet, and I'm actually going to share this with everyone because I'm going to ask you all to hop into this at some point. Where's the chat? So here's our ranking spreadsheet. So what I'm thinking is that first, we'll go through this list of objectives. And so these objectives I have derived from the conversation that went on in the Discuss post that I created, the Discuss post about roadmap planning, where I asked open-endedly for people's thoughts. And then also specifically a write-up that I've seen we've reviewed from Jared on what his thoughts are for the future of status, near-term and long-term. And this again is just kind of focusing on the near term. I've really roughly ranked them in order of, they're roughly weighted, with the heaviest weighted towards the top, based again on what I'm hearing anecdotally and from the team. The objective is kind of like the bold headline, so make chat more enjoyable to use being one example. And then beneath each, I've just given an example of what a feature or an improvement would be that would drive up to that objective, right? So that there's many different options for how we can accomplish these things. But the point is, like, make chat more enjoyable to use. That's solving a problem, right? Chat kind of doesn't meet the standards of other messengers out there. And as a regular user, I would be frustrated that I can't do things like send images, for example. And there's many other things we could do to get that experience up to par and make it enjoyable. But again, it's all about the problem that we're trying to solve for first. So I'm going to go through these lists of objectives with you, just make sure that we all have the same understanding of what these mean and if they very roughly feel right. And then we're going to hop over to this other spreadsheet, and I'm going to capture live feedback from you guys on the little assignment that I sent around, which is just to hear each person's perspective. If you were a new user downloading V1, what's the number one thing we could do to encourage you to actively use V1? And what's the number one thing that we're doing that would discourage you from using V1? So we'll go round robin, and then once we have all of those items into this spreadsheet, what we'll do is kind of look at them as a group and try to identify if there are any other objectives that we can extrapolate out of these ideas. And if there are, then that's great. We'll add them to the spreadsheet here. If they ladder up to the existing objectives that we've identified already, that's also great. What we ultimately want to do is get to a point where we have all the objectives that we think might be important listed in here, and then we are going to dot vote. So for each person, there is a column in this spreadsheet, and I've blacked them out so we can do this privately. If it's confusing, like, we are going to use equations in here. So I want to make sure that you get your votes right. So feel free to like highlight or color these in white if you need to see. But each person will dot vote. We'll give like two votes per person, and then we'll rank objectives, and that will be the meeting for today. Again, I'm going to share it with the community, and then we'll set up in-depth meetings for the 2-3 top objectives in the next month or two. Does that sound good?
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, sounds
wonderful.
good.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so let's go through these objectives. this is what I've been hearing. So make chat more enjoyable to use. I think that one's pretty clear to us, right? It's about getting chat up to par with like your basic messenger, making it more engaging, bringing it to life a little bit. The second sort of most common and most vehement objection I'm hearing to using status is around bandwidth and resource consumption. For me, it's personally actually a big problem. I worry about my battery use when I have status running on my phone. But because that's not the only like significant blocker that might kind of piss someone off and force them to just delete the app immediately, I've put it under this umbrella terminology of fix any significant blockers to use, and that can also apply to things like annoying UX. So, for example, every time I create a new account on the app, right away I get this like mobile network syncing pop up that wants to know if I want to keep trying to download messages while on cell data, and that drives me nuts. So that sort of thing can also be a blocker to use for us to consider when we get into this. But bandwidth and resource consumption is definitely a thing that we hear a lot as a problem, or have heard lately. And again, please stop me if anything is unclear here. The third objective is welcoming new users warmly with a happy onboarding. That sounds dangerously close to inappropriate. So with a smooth onboarding process. And that's just all about like fixing that feedback that we're seeing from users in status already. Just like, is anyone here? And like, how do I get started? What do I do? And again, there's a couple of like quick ways that we could fix that and improve that right away. And I think we'll prioritize some of those for V1, but still there's heaps of room for improvement in onboarding after that if we were to focus on it. The fourth objective would be, and this one's kind of bland, it's just I was trying to put a couple things together, but polish UI for existing features. So I noticed like we called out specifically the seed phrase backup UI, wanting to create passwordless accounts. So that means being able to use biometric login when you're signing transactions, et cetera. Kind of bits and pieces, grab bag UI improvement for various features that have like that are in their MVP state right now and could be in their V1 state. The fifth objective is to enhance user privacy through more advanced controls. An example of this one would be, for instance, being able to select a different wallet per each tab or DApp in the browser that you are using. The sixth objective is to offer more robust account management. And so this really gets at the completion of multi-account features. So adding in things that once again are planned, but they're not in the MVP, like the ability to import an account from seed phrase, the ability to import key card into multi-account, et cetera. And then the last objective that I was able to pull out of the feedback so far is one that I think is very important, if not the most urgent, but this is all about making it easier to build community inside status. So, you know, perhaps it becomes easier to share your own profile or to discover users that you know. Account gifting, we could create fun little mechanisms like sending an NFT to someone that they can reclaim when they join status and create an account. Basically growing the community and growing the network. Any questions on these? Are they clear?
Crystal.
Yep.
Cool. Great. Of those people who have read the Discuss post and been involved in some of these talks already, is there anything that's glaringly missing off the bat?
Yeah, maybe SNT utility. Like enable SNT utility, improve everything that is related to sending SNT and transactions in general.
Yep. I feel like those are two separate. Sorry, go ahead, Hester.
No, I had actually the same question. I was just thinking, like, what bucket does it fit best to? Because I can imagine SNT reactions, like it could also fit under make it easier to build community and status.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like,
yeah,
I think it deserves. I think it
SNT
deserves
utilities,
an item of its own.
Okay.
Just a question.
Why
it's called SNT reactions? It's using SNT you need to pay SNT to make a reaction, or it's just a name?
Oh yeah, the idea is like, it's like, last I heard it was like similar to Reddit Gold, where like you upvote someone's comment and then they earn something, so they would earn SNT. It's like, I like your comment, you get some SNT from me.
Yeah, more or less that. Yeah.
Right. I think that there are certain, there might be some features where they ladder up to multiple objectives, and that's okay. But yeah, I agree. We should probably capture that as an objective. So thank you, Andre, for calling that out. Build SNT utility, to my mind, though, is separate from smooth transactions and facilitating transactions. I find that to be a separate objective myself.
Yeah, I'm kind of in doubt between some of the more things like account contracts are like essential to support some of the other features. And it feels a little bit, and I kind of like that the list we have now is focused on the feature it enables. But just to not like lose sight of like the implications. Like, yeah, image sending has a lot of implications. SNT reactions has a lot of implications. But I kind of like the idea of voting on the feature it enables.
Cool. Yeah, I like that as well. And yeah, that's a great point to keep in mind, is that if you think the potential feature you have in mind can fit under one of these, then we'll make sure to represent it there, and we can consider it captured. Okay, so I'm going to just add build SNT utility, and that again has some overlap, but we'll definitely leave that there. Okay, sweet. So on that note, let's move on. Thank you guys for jumping in. Let's move on to the next spreadsheet. So this is like show of hands. Did people read my email? I just asked, like I said, I asked you to think about, like, if you were a V1 user, familiar with Status or not, I don't really care. What is the number one thing that Status could do to encourage you to use the app? And what is the number one thing that Status is currently doing to discourage you from using the app? So I hope you've given it some thought already, but otherwise it's a pretty easy thing to answer spontaneously. So I'm gonna have us go round robin, and I will fill out what you say, and I'm not gonna put your names in, so it will be at least post fact somewhat anonymous. So on that note, I'll go first. The number one thing that Status could do to encourage me to use it actively is probably things like implementing basic chat features. I think about like what it would take for me to want to speak to my friends on Status, and it's all the things that make chat fun for me right now, which I use a lot of, obviously, images and voice notes. Oops, basic chat features. That's for me. And then the number one thing that's encouraging or discouraging is resource consumption, particularly like my battery. I'm concerned with battery drainage, which I feel to be a thing. So, okay, cool. Now I'm gonna just call on people in order that I see them. So Mache, I've got you next. What's your number one potential encouragement?
Cool. I think it's kind of similar. I would say more specifically images in chat.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's like a thing that's stopping me from onboarding my friends. They bounce back the moment they've noticed that we don't have image support. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
They're leaving. Okay.
Yeah, and discouraging. I would say also consumption, but more on the network side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes like forever to load anything. It's just very slow, like on the network side of things.
Yeah, that's also an issue for me too. Great, thank you. Andre Medeiros.
Encouraging would definitely be an easier way to share contact information.
Cool. Great.
Discouraging is UI snappiness.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Nice.
What does that mean? Just responsiveness and the time that it takes?
Yeah, like a feeling that it's responding immediately.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and the tapping areas are not always big enough to tap.
That's a great point. I noticed that today. I had something that was really slow to respond to me. It was the profile somewhere. Okay, Andre, do you want to go next? I'm skipping for you. Andre Mironov, sorry. Multiple Andres.
Yeah, I to be honest, I don't have in mind. I saw the email, but I couldn't think of. I didn't really understand how to. I thought like, yeah, I thought like I specified in the discuss post the features I want to have, but I didn't get this thing with encouraging, discouraging. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
Just say images in chat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I already specified a list of the features I want to have.
Yours were, yeah, they were transaction oriented.
Yeah, I think that status should have better transaction sending process. Like it should be smooth because it's and it's what makes it different from all those other apps like Telegram and the ones you've mentioned in the beginning of this call. We should have transactions easy built in and chat, so I can send crypto to people I'm talking to in chat. So I don't know where to put it, in discouraging or encouraging, but yeah, this is my point.
It goes both ways. Okay. Okay. Great. How about Pedro?
Yeah, so I think for encouraging, it's hard to say that it. I think we would need to have a baseline where our chat does the same as other apps. So I think if we didn't support stuff like sending images or showing a position in a map, like an attachment to a message where I say my current position. If I don't have stuff like that, it would be a no-go. So yeah, basic chat features, and then we would have to have some additional, which I think is the wallet stuff, which is interesting to have on top. For the discouraging, I would say network consumption, but it's not so much the speed. It's really, I'm afraid for like in Switzerland, it's expensive. The data plans are expensive, so I would be concerned for the amount of data that it consumes.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Adam.
I use chat like messengers exclusively on desktop. So for me, better support for desktop is kind of essential to use it, because I honestly, I probably don't use Messenger at all on my phone except for notifications. So when I receive notifications, then I open the chat. But you know, most of my time is spent in front of the computer, so that's why I use messengers mostly on the desktop. But yeah, so for the next thing would be notifications. I mean, I like use my phone as kind of a device to collect notifications and then go to either app if I need to, or to the desktop to handle those notifications. So got support for notifications. It's really, really a must.
Got it. And discouraging, do you have one? Is it lack of desktop?
Yeah, I think more important is notifications. So I don't feel like they are reliable. I had a couple of situations when I stopped, when my notification just stopped arriving to me. So I had no idea that someone actually writes to me anything.
Okay.
And maybe one more in group on a public chats, like the pinging functionality. Like, you know, you can ping someone using a handler or something like this. I think it's yeah. I mean,
mention.
Mentions.
Yeah, mentions.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly. So this thing is kind of also discouraging right now. It's just too much noise, maybe sometimes.
Okay, yeah, right. That makes sense. Great, thanks. Carl.
Sure. So I think mine I actually already captured here, but encouraging would be the basic chat features, and then discouraging would be like just general sort of responsiveness. UI.
Yep. Okay, UI. General UI responsiveness, great. Thank you. Andre, S.
Which one? Oh, sorry.
S. Russian Andre.
Yeah,
right. So yeah, for me, it's I would like to see some, I would say extension, but something like send SNT in the chat. I mean the reaction or some kudos, whatever. So extensions for chat. I know we don't want to move extension for now, but at least we could have like our own internal, I mean, in-app extensions. So it's not installable from outside, but you have like in the settings extension, you can enable and disable it, something like that. Yeah, and discouraging, it's a history of messages. So for example, I haven't been in the app for weeks or something, and I can get the history of messages and the reliability also. Sometimes I don't know if my message is received or not. Or and
I agree.
Network consumption already.
Okay. Yeah, those are actually great that I had not considered. And extensions, I agree with you. I called that out as something on a longer term roadmap that I also would love to bring back, just because extensions would enable the proliferation of sort of special sauce features that enrich the utility even further. So yeah, I think thank you for bringing those up. Message history too, great one. So okay, so next up is Andrea P. Let's have you go next. Andrea now.
Yeah, for me, well, most of the same stuff as others. Like mainly I'm a chat user with B, so mentions are quite useful. I would say desktop because again, as well, I very rarely use mobile phone. And like performance, like even on desktop, like is a bit lacking the performance, and then community. I mean, that's obviously the most important thing. Like if I would like to, if it's empty, no one is going to use it. So like, I think there needs to be an effort to build up a community, such as Slack and something like that. If all the technical people are there, for example, they have a Slack channel, something like that. Yeah, discouraging, like, well, basically just the opposite of those.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Lack of community.
Yeah, lack of community, lack of performance. I'm not so worried about images or, like mentions. It wouldn't be so discouraging as long as you have community, for example.
Right. Okay.
IRC is fine.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Chu.
Yeah, for me, comments in chat will be encouraging thing because comments, no, like send request.
Yeah, commands. That makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. Yep.
Extensions as well, and group chats, but not in 10 participants for sure.
With more participants, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder what you guys mean when you say extensions now.
I mean to build before we delete extensions, we have ability for developers from outside to build extension on the top of status and to have their comments gives anything to build into status. And after this, we don't have such possibilities. So yeah, we just remove them, but there is nothing instead, at least for now. So it's kind of
okay.
Right. So that's the stuff that Julian was working on, right?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
But I also mean that if we don't, for this extension, what we were trying to do is they're quite, so it's like permissions and installations or whatever. But if we don't have time for this, we can build our own internal extension, so we don't need any permission. But you can enable or disable them. So by default, they will be disabled. For example, Kudos app, Kudos extension. We can have it like, and you can enable it if you want to use it. And in this case, you will have the command in the chat. If you don't need it, you don't enable it, and it's
right.
So something you can like extend the basic functionality.
Yeah. For me, I think mainly in terms of enriching chat with more utility, especially from other developers. So, Chu, did you have a discouraging, something that's blocking you?
Nothing new, just slow UI and network as well.
Okay, great. Cool. Great. So then next I have Eric. Eric, you're muted.
For encouraging, I would say basic chat features as well.
Mm-hmm.
So mentions mostly, and notifications, but not push notifications, but like
in-app
notifications.
Okay.
And discouraging. Well, there personally there is the keycard flow to have to log in with a keycard. That's for keycard accounts. For regular accounts, I would say network, but usage, but I'm not sure it's something for status core, because at this point the network consumption is mostly due to factors that we don't have much impact on.
Right. Okay. That's okay to capture. Thank you. That's great. Next up, I have Hester.
Yeah, this might be captured by basic chat features, but for me, optimizing the way I can invite people into a chat, into like a group chat, a public chat, one-on-one, rather than inviting them to download and install status and be lost, which is easier with a phone number, obviously. If I invite someone to, I don't know, WhatsApp, I should check how it works right now. But it feels like I might just be able to just start a conversation with that person, invite someone to status. Yeah, they have to download and install the app and, I don't know, revisit the link to figure out how to then chat with me.
Yep.
And like discouraging for me is like the 9+.
Unread messages.
Yeah, unread messages. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Good reminder. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Ricardo.
For me, I think that a public profile would be very interesting to have. Like, the public profile is very simple right now. So maybe if I could have some way to, I see some people using like ENS to make their profile and say, oh, this is I do this and do that. So maybe a message in my public profile. So this is public profile, not is meant to be to everyone. Other thing I would be encouraging would be a browser chat. That could be maybe a plugin, or I don't know exactly I mean Firefox a plugin, or I don't know, a way of using it on the browser.
Okay,
disencouraging for me would be the unreliable chat. For example, sometimes you send a message, it says it didn't send, but it sent. Actually, I solved this issue to myself by running a local mail server. But the worst problem for me in status that would disencourage me from using it is the lack of image sharing. It's very complicated to share an image in status. This is really straightforward in any chat application. And in status, like what I do, I need to go to some hosting website. And in future, we are having spam as well as a problem. It's not a problem now, but in future.
Good point. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Ricardo. Great. Last two people, I think. Serhi. Did Serhi just drop? His name was just there and he disappeared. Oh no, Serhi, are you there? I can't hear you. Serhi. Okay. Let's have Simon go instead, and then Serhi, if you're with us and you can chime in after, we'll turn back to you. So Simon.
Yeah, so encouraging definitely basic chat features as was mentioned, and as a DApp user, definitely enable dApps or better browser experience.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Better browser experience for dApps in some way, or I didn't catch it quite.
Basically, like to have like dApps and better browser experience. Yeah.
Oh, tabs.
DApps. Yeah.
Okay. Not dApps. Okay.
DApps. Yeah.
Is that
discouraging? This probably lack of desktop or the browser version of the status, as I'm not using status, as I'm not using the mobile during the day. So yeah, desktop and browser.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Sergey, I'll just give you one last try, and otherwise I'll capture your feedback async, or you can type it in if you can hear me. Okay. All right, so let's just go back through this list real quick. There's a few things that stood out to me that are missing from our current objectives list that I do want to capture. So I'm just going to go through and highlight the cells where I saw those things. So Andre, you called out again the better transaction sending process, and I think that's not adequately covered by the objectives right now, because as Hester mentioned, those, they kind of ladder up to features, and this one doesn't really fit anywhere, so I'm going to highlight that. Support for desktop is definitely not included or represented, so I want to include that. I am not sure if UI, like responsiveness and snappiness, is well enough included either. That might be one of those things that goes under like it's a blocker, and maybe that's what we work on as reducing significant blockers is UI responsiveness. But I want to make sure that we cover that. Extensions, we don't have that captured. Anything that captures extensions really at all. Chat invite flow. Hester, with chat invite flow, I think we can include that as that would be a potential item under either the objective of, yes, basic chat features, or the objective to make it easier to build community and status. So improving the invite flow and sharing of the app. Does that work for you if we were to consider that covered by one of those objectives?
Yeah, definitely. That works.
Okay, cool. And you guys will all definitely, like, once we go into those in-depth planning meetings for each objective, like, please, everyone's welcome to join all of those as well. So just keep your items in mind if they're not explicitly called out, because we'll have the opportunity to cover them later.
There is a message in the chat from Sergi.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, I had that hidden. Good call. Probably some issues with mic. Oh, thanks, Sergi. So encouraging would be as a new user v1. Yeah, onboarding with tooltips. Nice. A more hand-holding during onboarding. What I would call that during onboarding. Well, we definitely captured that with VM.
Also, when people mention onboarding, I think I have a feeling, I believe that everyone has something different in mind. And somebody wants the app to explain the features more. Somebody wants to provide reasons to use the app. Somebody wants, and everyone wants different things. And maybe I want to say that let's align regarding the goals of the onboarding, because yeah.
I think we can say onboarding kind of has a blanket goal. Like, yes, different users have different needs, and we would need to segment that. But the goal of great onboarding experience is to get the users, to activate the user, right? To get them to understand the app and to want to use the app, so they feel welcome. And like how we do that for the different types of users that we have is sort of I think that's a lower order question, which might even accommodate like different working groups.
I agree with the onboarding concept, Rachel just mentioned it. And what you mentioned about the teaching process is called tutorials, I guess. I see this in a lot of apps. For example, even Discord have many apps, games do that. So maybe it's interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for user education. That could even be an objective of its own. I called it out on my Discuss post. It's just making sure that people understand how this app works and the benefits of it in a way that might go far beyond what you expect in a typical consumer application, whether that's through product and special product features, or if it's like marketing support and other things. So user education, I'll capture that, because that might be an initiative that stretches outside of product, right?
Rachel, but user education is actually a higher level because the education would include as well why status. But the tutorials is only UI specific to say, oh, to do this, you do this. This is just for the user know how to use, not why they use status. So education is more abstract, I would say.
Okay, got it. Then in that case, how to use might still fit under onboarding as an objective.
A really quick point. This thing about user education got me thinking, because in the onboarding we have quite a complex process of setting up your account. We generate a key, then you store it, then you encrypt it. Along the way, we explain the concept of keys. So there's not too much room for education there. But what it could be interesting is a quicker or faster process of. So, for instance, if we decided not to be so heavy on key generation and shift our focus on education, and we decided to change the onboarding design, and that usually takes kind of months. And I wonder if it's possible to make it quicker so that we could experiment quicker and test things quicker. Once we release, there are going to be users. And is there a plan? Maybe it could be one of the objectives to make the implementation process quick enough so that we can easily experiment, change things, improve screens, split test.
Yeah, how do we put that? Like, I want to say like faster, more iterative release process, something like that, where we are able to, ideally test things as well before it goes out the door.
Just to be clear, if I understood, you mentioned like when the user opened the status application, it doesn't ask to register a key if it doesn't have a key. It already creates a random key and the user can start using it. And then the user can save this key, create another one, like by using a menu, but that's what you mean, or?
That's a possible way we can go. But if it takes like months, it's going to be too expensive. But if we could test something like that, so now we ask people to acknowledge that they get a key and blah blah blah, but we can just get that out of the way, give them a key, and then ask to create a password somewhere later. I mean, experiment on how to onboard users.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna
an easier way to work around is put a button that say
no,
later.
I use this just
later
as an
I care
example.
about this.
I use this just an example.
Guys, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but we're getting a little bit in the weeds there. I just want to make sure that we have all the potential objectives captured, and I think we're pretty close, and then we can go ahead and rank. And if we come up with implementation ideas that we don't feel are covered by like various goals later, then let's capture them async, okay? There's one other thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't want to get stuck on the topic of user education, but I do want to highlight that it's like the higher level goal is make sure people understand how to use the application. I think when we say user education, and I think it was even mentioned, like we think of things like tooltips and like onboarding guidance. It doesn't have to be that, and exactly the opposite is actually what we're doing in the current onboarding by showing you that a key is generated, by showing you in like an illustration what that kind of entails, that you're building up a keychain. That to me is also user education. So I'm thinking if there's a way to like rephrase it in how are we going to help users understand how to use the app, so we don't jump into the tooltip solution.
I think it's making, to me, user education describes it, but to me, like what it means is like making the benefits or the uniqueness of status understood.
Yeah, I think that captures it well for me. It's just anything to prevent that we dive into tooltips, because those can be incredibly annoying and like achieve the opposite of education.
Okay, making the uniqueness of status understood. That's a separate goal. Definitely, I agree, from a successful onboarding and activation of the user. Cool. Okay, so then one other thing, I think is it just one other thing that I see here that I want to call out. It's the Ricardo's item of public profile. So there's definitely a notion here of being able to build up your identity or your profile in the network, and that is an objective that I think could be all its own. So I'm going to capture that one. One last quick look. easy way to share contact info. So I think easy way to share contact info, that's similar to Andre, I believe that was yours. I'm going to file that under either a basic chat feature or again, like building community.
Thank you. Yep.
If that's cool, I think that's where that would fit.
Yeah.
And then definitely like the unreliability of things like messages and notifications. I think that those should be line items underneath major blockers. For me, I also want to say +1 to that issue. Like whenever I'm on a public Wi-Fi network, I constantly get your message wasn't sent in red, and it was sent. So I find that absolutely maddening. What else? Is there anything else?
Yeah, sometimes I see users in the status sending the multiple messages many times. So I know they had this problem.
Yeah, right, totally. Okay, cool. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add, on second thought, if everyone on this call is okay with it, this issue of UI snappiness, which means general like UI responsiveness and the way it feels to interact with the app. Can we file that as like, does that fit under the objective of like reducing barriers to use? And maybe the positive frame is like improving performance rather than reducing barriers. I don't know, but it kind of feels like it's part of that same group of features, right? Do you guys agree or fix it?
This is more about polish. It's not necessarily, it's not necessarily about it being easy or hard to use. It's about whether it feels professional.
How about this? Polish the UI becomes the objective that I captured earlier, and that includes things like UI responsiveness and then specific feature polish.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that one is definitely captured then. Okay, cool. So I'll consider that one covered. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional objectives. So this is going to make voting a little bit trickier, but let's do it. So how about, oops, just opening a tab. All right, so I'm going to capture desktop, better desktop support. These might not be the best way of phrasing the objectives, but just because we're doing this sync and I want to move along since we've got 5 minutes left. How about this? Enriching, this is so product managery, enriching like chat or like feature utility via extensions. There's something to be said for like bringing more functionality, bringing in additional functionality, compelling functionality via extensions. That'll do. Smoother transaction flow. It's pretty specific, but that basically will enabling transactions is the idea behind that, making it easier to transact. Helping users to build a public identity. Identity, make the uniqueness of status understood, and that's sort of a higher level or higher order user education campaign that happens in multiple places probably. Make the uniqueness of status understood. And then lastly, a faster, more iterative release process.
I would say helping users to build a public identity could go together with make it easier to build community and status. I'm not sure how others see that, but to me, it's again on like, inviting people to join status. Only you do it publicly.
Yep, I could see that definitely. Just if you're building a public profile, you become known, and therefore people are more attracted to you and you to others, and therefore you're more likely to create connections.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see that. I will, if there are no objections, I'll take that one out and we'll put it, I'll just
regarding the education, regarding the education, I think that the marketing team should be also in the call when we make this specific topic. It's very, they have a lot of ideas there. And I was already talking about, for example, principles and other stuff.
Definitely agreed. Thank you, Ricardo. Okay, cool. So that makes 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're gonna have all the extra features, or sorry, extra objectives to vote on. Just gonna make this a little bit trickier for people now. What do you guys think? Should we allow, I was going to do dot voting, and the way that we're going to do dot voting is you need to find your name in your column. and you're going to vote by putting the number 1 on the items that you want to vote for. And so I think that people should have, maybe given the number of objectives that we have now, a maximum of 3 votes. Does that make sense? 3 votes per person?
So we allocate 3 dots across.
Across all the objectives. And you can vote for multiple, or sorry, you can vote for one objective multiple times. You would put a 2 in that case if you wanted to vote for the same objective twice.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That makes sense? Okay, and then I'm going to tally them up when we're done. So be careful with this one. Math.
We're not supposed to identify your votes, by the way.
But if you need it to see and you're going to mess it up otherwise, go for it.
Sorry, once again, the most important gets a 1?
No, you just put a 1. A 1 equals 1 dot, because I'm going to use the sum. I'm going to sum up the votes on each row at the end. So if you want to vote for something, put a 1 into the corresponding cell in your column.
And I have only 1 vote, right?
No, you get 3.
Okay, sorry.
So yeah,
Thank
3
you.
votes. And if you want to vote for the same thing twice, put in like a 2 or a 3.
Got it.
Got it. Okay, cool. And I'm just going to check mine. I don't really care. Sorry, I can't be risking this.
Good choice, Rachel. Yeah.
I messed up, so it's a good thing that I did. Okay, I'm gonna give it like 2 or 3 more minutes. And actually, if you could just put in the chat, let me know when you're done in the chat. That's the easiest thing, I think. So we have more people on the call than we have in the spreadsheet. If you are on the call,
I don't have the link, but I can maybe you can send the link of this spreadsheet to the chat.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that one other person, maybe Andre, are you on your phone? Okay. I'm still gonna, let's see.
Searching the link.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, sorry, Ricardo, you don't have a column. You're gonna have to add a column for yourself because I'm sorry, I wasn't planning. You weren't on the invite. I'm so sorry. But thank you for joining us. Perfect. So once again, when you're done, just ping the chat so we know.
I found a column there with my name and I finished it.
Oh, did someone make that for you, Andre?
I did.
Yeah, that's nice.
Here to help.
I feel like I should play some Jeopardy music. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this pivotal moment. And look, this can be soft rankings for now. Like if you want to change your rankings later, it's okay. You can do so. Change your votes later. You can do so. Don't feel like it's the end. My goal is to share the recording of this meeting and the outcome of it discussed with the community by like tomorrow. That's definitely doable. So
can you not include the damp croutons comment? I feel like I would be persecuted based on that.
I mean, like I was your #1 target there, so I was okay with it.
Fair enough.
Damp croutons. All right. Is there anybody who's still ranking right now actively and not done? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. Let's B. You guys ready for the reveal? Get this formula right, but if I rank this. Somebody still editing? No? Yeah, here we go. Drum roll. It's already ranked actually, I forgot I did that beforehand. Cool, okay. So the results are in. It looks like we have a couple of ties in here actually, but far and away the highest ranked objective right now is to make chat more enjoyable to use. It's no surprise. It sounds like once we go into that planning meeting, the very first thing we're going to talk about is sending images. Sending images. The next item we have is fix significant blockers to use. So remember that includes bandwidth, resource consumption, network, annoying UI things, but that actually ranked at 5 points, and it's tied with the UI polish objective. So UI responsiveness, specific feature polish, etc. And maybe what we'll even do when all this is said and done is to reshape the objective somewhat as well. But those two are tied with 5 votes, so significantly below first place. And then third place is really close. That is the that is smoother transaction flow and enabling transactions. Okay, cool. And then more robust account management, making it easier to build community status. Cool. Cool. All right, well, thank you guys so much for playing. That was the show today. Anything else anybody would like to say?
Yes, you all look wonderful today.
Signature line, isn't it? All right, awesome. Okay, so as follow-up, again, what's going to happen since #1 is awesome, agreed. Thank you guys so much, seriously, for participating. I really appreciated your discussion. I'm going to take this, share it out to the community tomorrow and discuss. And then in the next week, I don't know how long we'll give the community to vote. I'll work with Johnny on that. But then in the next week or two, you can look out for invites from me to the in-depth planning sessions for each of these objectives. And that's where we'll begin to get into like what the actual feature backlog looks like for each objective and potentially a little bit into implementation details. So you're all invited as always, everybody is welcome. Thank you. And I think that's it. See you in Discord.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone. Thank you, Rachel, for putting this together. It was incredible. Good job.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.